A ring of fire rose over the U.S. East Coast this morning. This image of a partial solar eclipse shows the sun as a crescent as it rises over New York City. This is from Disclosed TV. So a tentative infrastructure deal reached by a tiny group of senators led by Romney. After talks between Joe Biden and Senator Shelley Moore Capito broke down earlier this week, a bipartisan group of 10 senators led by you-know-who said they reached a tentative deal on the size of an infrastructure deal, as well as how they pay for it. The deal would spend a fraction of the $4.1 trillion called for by President Biden and would not require an increase in taxes, according to The Hill. But that may be a tough sell with the broader Senate Democratic caucus. We have a tentative agreement on the pay-fors, yes, but that's among the 5 Democrats and the 5 Republicans. It has not been taken to our respective caucuses or the White House, so we're in the middle of the process. We're not at the end of the process, not at the beginning, in the middle. Duh. Ron DeSantis posted this today. Florida's education system exists to create opportunity for our children. Critical race theory teaches kids to hate our country and to hate each other. It is state-sanctioned racism, and it has no place in Florida schools. It has no place in the whole United States, in my opinion. And in Georgia, voting machines have remote access, according to Susan Boyle in Georgia. Matt DePerno isn't the first person to claim that people are gaining remote access to the voting machines. Susan Boyles claimed Dominion tech specialists operate it remotely. It's not a stretch of the imagination that the entire state of Georgia's election was connected to the internet, considering the entire state uses Dominion ballot marketing devices as their voting machines. Remember, anything that can be remotely accessed is hooked up to the internet, and therefore it can be hacked. See the video next here.
I thought that I understood that the voting system was separated from the world by an air gap, that they're not connected to the internet. What I thought I heard you say is that you were able to contact Dominion, they were able to fix the problem. That indicates to me that somehow they're able to communicate with the device that you have.
Yes, sir, they were. And to give you an example, the way I am not a tech person, but the best way I can explain it to you is when something happens with my phone that I have an iPhone, or something happens with my Apple computer where I need additional assistance with that. I call up Apple and I say, this is what's happening. And they say, do I have permission to take over your computer? And of course, I give them the permission to do that because I want it fixed. That was the exact same thing. I had to give them permission to take over my poll pad so that they could reprogram it from Adams Park to SSO2 A and B, which is at West Balding Drive Elementary.
One final, I think. So as I think through this, there's some protection, should be some protection that keeps me from going to one precinct and voting, and driving over to another precinct and voting. That would seem to require that maybe it's this poll pad, not the actual ballot marking device or the scanner, but the poll pad has to be connected to other poll pads. But that's, so maybe what you're saying is that poll pad, that update on the poll pad is not generating ballots. It's only generating a card that you then take to the ballot marking device to vote. Is that correct? Or?
That is partially correct, sir. We also had with our ballot marking devices at the same time, because of whatever was going wrong and we could not encode the cards, they fixed those machines, the ballot marking devices, at the same time. So does that answer your question a little bit more? Yes, they operated remotely on both the ballot marking device and on the poll pads.
And Vernon Jones destroys left the Arizona Reporter on a ridiculous question. And he ended with, next question. So after examining the process of the audit, the two held a press briefing. And this reporter just about cried as she got roasted for asking a biased and foolish question. And here's the video next.
Tell me who's funding it.
I was setting up my question.
Oh, okay. So let me say this. Whoever's funding it, is it taxpayers' dollars? Have you done your research? Is it taxpayers' dollars?
$150,000 coming from taxpayers.
Taxpayers.
Yes.
So private money is private money. They can do what they want. Have they broken the law?
I did not say that.
No, okay. I'm just asking, have they broken the law on who's funding what? Have they broken the law? Ma'am, I'm just asking, have private investors who invest in this, have they broken the law? No, don't look at her. No, look right here.
Sorry.
Did they break the law? All I'm asking is, now I want to be very respectful. Here's my question. When you mention who's funding this audit, and you said private people, including OAN, right?
And the audit has not been clear about his funding. Sure.
Okay. But whoever is funding it, if it's private dollars, is that illegal?
If private money is paying for a public audit, I don't know if that breaks any laws or not.
If private money is paying for a public audit. Okay, I'll take the next question.
And then today, over in New York City, a UFO spotted by multiple witnesses flying the World Knows Trump 1 flag. Awesome. And it's spreading. Trump 1 banner unfurled at the Miami Marlins baseball game. They're appearing everywhere. See the video here next.
What did he say? Oh, look at that. They put another one on.
And Senator Marsha Blackburn, I think that it is appropriate that Dr. Fauci stepped aside from his responsibilities at the NIAID and that he make himself available to Congress to find out exactly how he was in cahoots with Mark Zuckerberg and Big Tech. And here's the video.
And then also, I saw your release yesterday about firing Dr. Fauci. Can you just talk a little bit about that on camera?
Sure. I think that it is appropriate that Dr. Fauci step aside from his responsibilities at the NIAID and that he make himself available to Congress to find out exactly how was he in cahoots with Mark Zuckerberg and Big Tech. What transpired there? Did the American people hear some truth, but not the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Why was there not timeliness of acknowledgement of concerns around the lab? Why was there not more of a concern around Wuhan saying you cannot go anywhere else in China, or the Chinese Communist Party saying you can go nowhere else in China if you're from Hubei province or you're from Wuhan, but you can travel the globe everywhere but China.
Residents in Arizona concerned about their safety. The video cam shows illegals climbing private fences and walls and running through neighborhoods at night after crossing the border. Brits bash Biden. He's so senile he probably won't remember what we tell him anyway. Joe Biden's first trip abroad is turning into an utter disaster as the senile sock puppet offends our closest allies and endangers the peace process in Northern Ireland with his incompetent dementia, as the Daily Mail reports. Nigel Farage wrote on Twitter, "We now have an anti-British U.S. president in the White House. I hope all those who condemn Trump see their stupidity." And now for a video.
For the soldiers might have been keeping a straight face. You know, when I went over in the tank in the Pentagon, when I first was elected vice president with President Obama, the military sat us down to let us know what the greatest threats facing America were, the greatest physical threats. This is not a joke. You know what the Joint Chiefs told us the greatest threat facing America was? Global warming. Because there'll be significant population movements, fights over land, millions of people leaving. places because they're literally sinking below the sea in Indonesia because of the fights over what is arable land anymore.
This was shared by Disclosed TV today. Kind of hysterical. I'll play the video here for you.
When I was 14, if you please, at ease. I keep forgetting I'm president. When I was 14 years
And Glenn Beck responds to Obama comments, and this is a really good video.
Ever notice that when this country is at its weakest, Barack Obama, the former president, seems to appear out of nowhere, jetting in from Martha's Vineyard or Hawaii, to make the country even weaker and even more divided? This week, Obama appeared on television to tell us that anyone who complains when their children are taught in school that some races are better than others, anyone who complains about that is the bigot. What is going on here exactly? There's a hostility at the bottom, obviously, of Barack Obama. That's interesting. Glenn Beck is one of the very few people who saw it early, from the very beginning. He's the host now of the Glenn Beck radio program. We're honored to have him on tonight. Glenn, thanks so much for joining us. So I thought of you earlier this week because you had a very clear picture of who Obama was underneath. You felt the hostility in him. Mm-hmm. You said it. People became completely hysterical. But I thought that was a deep insight that a lot of us missed.
Right. Back then, Tucker, you couldn't call a president racist. Back then that was crazy. Now that we've gone through the Trump era, I guess it's okay. Here's the thing. I apologized for saying that about 2 years later because it was unartful. I was thinking out loud, and I remember I was on Fox and Friends, and I said, I think the president is a racist. No, that's not quite right. I think he just has a problem with the white culture. Well, holy cow, what do you mean by white culture? I don't know, Marxist. Tell me now what you mean by white culture. I was not versed on critical race theory. I wasn't versed in the language of Marxists. Now, Barack Obama, I am. I take my apology back. I was exactly right. And I even stated it right. You are a racist if you believe in critical race theory. If you think that what Dr. Martin Luther King said, that he envisions a country that is seeing people for the content of their character, not their color, if you think that's wrong, then yes, you are a racist. If you believe that critical race theory, which teaches children that white is an incurable kind of disease, that you will never be able to not be racist, that somehow or another you have to be punished for the sins of the past. I know that goes to your critical race theory, Barack Obama, but I don't believe in that. I'm sorry, I don't believe in that, and I also don't believe in collective salvation, which you do. By the way, you rejected Jeremiah Wright. How you feeling about the new senator from Georgia? How do you feel about him? I wonder. I'll bet you love him, but I bet you don't have the courage to say it.
That is such a good point. You felt that there's a hostility, there's an anger there, a meanness underneath Obama.
Oh, yeah.
I watched him really closely, a hatred. And I could always kind of feel it. It's very obvious now. I'm sure that you saying this out loud will, bring another tidal wave of rage, but it's because you're telling the truth.
Yeah, look, I'm tired of towing the line. I'm tired of especially the Marxist. I was called a racist for calling him a Marxist. He is a Marxist. If you believe in critical race theory, there's no science behind it. It is a Marxist theory meant to divide people and destroy a country. Well, what are we doing? His wife even said, Brock knows we're going to have to change our language, the way we talk to each other. We're going to have to change our traditions. Well, that's exactly what we're doing. And he said this week that Joe Biden is just finishing the job he started. Well, that job is the fundamental transformation of America. And Barack thinks that it's all about the economy, and they're thinking about losing their position. Losing my position? I don't care. I want my children to have freedom. I want my children to be able to make a choice on what they do, how they live, where they live. I will not be silenced by a bunch of Marxists. And Barack Obama, you don't have the courage. You have too much Hillary Clinton in you. That's why people didn't like you the second term, because Hillary Clinton, she just put you down a chute.
Glenn Beck, thank you for that. It was great to see you tonight.